Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Coffee number 5. Today, I was thinking about my beginnings in this digital industry. And guess what? Back then, there's nobody that will teach you the digital world because the digital world was starting. So I had to learn by making a lot of mistakes. And some mistakes that cost you time, money, and sometimes everything actually disappeared. And those were the worst because at the same time, everyone was learning. It's not that I could go to an expert. There was no expert. I'm talking 1998 when I started doing websites. And oh my God, was such a learning curve. I'm still learning every day. Every day there's something that changes and I need to learn. But I would say that because I was in this world so much and my background in television and film, and because I was learning together with the developers and programmers, I was learning. And you know what? We didn't have gurus back then, which I think it was a blessing for me because I didn't have anyone claiming that they knew everything and that they will resolve my life. I feel like lately there is a lot of people out there trying to get things fixed for you, and that they're trying to not explain the basics, just doing things for you and not getting the client to understand and to make smart choices. Today, we're meeting with Shereen Campbell. She's an amazing woman that I met, and actually she's a client of us nowadays, and we enjoy everyday work with her. But I love her journey. She was working for corporate, she got her MBA too, but at the same time, she found her passion and she created My Little Magic Shop. Welcome, Shereen.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to chat with you and just, learn more about you, but also share to hopefully help some other entrepreneurs out there.
Well, I love to chat with you and I really enjoy our weekly, even though we're mostly talking about doing business and getting business done. But you've been in this journey for a while now. And can you tell us a little bit, tell us your history. Where did you start it and how you decided that you want to go and become an entrepreneur?
Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, I'm not even sure I necessarily wanted to be an entrepreneur. I feel like I just felt called to create something that, didn't exist before. And so it kind of happened accidentally. So I started I worked in corporate retail starting in 2007. I started at Macy's as in their executive development program as an assistant buyer. And I was like elated when I got this job. I got to work with fashion. I got to work with numbers and math, which was like right up my alley. And so I kind of started my journey there. And then concurrently, I went through like some personal changes. I had, my first heartbreak. And if you guys remember back when you're 22 or however old, how it feels like almost physical pain.
I know.
And I really just wanted to understand what I was feeling and how not to like feel bummed out about life. And so from that point on, I started studying all these kind of like mystical topics and subjects, kind of trying to see like, why are we here? Why do we suffer? Why do we have pain? Why are we, like, what are we doing on this planet? How do we find our purpose? And so I kind of started to go down this rabbit hole of spiritual exploration. And so that started originally with Kabbalah because that was like the thing to do back then. This is back
Totally. Was
2007.
yes, so it was so in back then.
Yeah. And so I was like, okay, I'll try this out, which I feel like, often happens to people. You see something and you like connect with it a little bit emotionally. And then you're able to, kind of start to explore it for yourself. So I started learning about Kabbalah and like went to the Kabbalah Center. It was amazing and interesting. And I developed all these beautiful concepts that actually stick with me till today,
Well, I have to tell you, I love Kabbalah. I started very young reading. It's not that I practice all the time, but what you said is super true, that there are there is some concepts that they are really stick with you.
Yeah. And so I like had this beautiful foundation, but like as I kind of, grew on my own, I kind of, realized I wasn't necessarily an organized religion type of person, which is, like fine. I just realized I like to float around and discover all sorts of new things and then just kind of like pull them in to create my own practices. But one of the things that Kabbalah reintroduced to me was astrology. And so I fell in love again with astrology. Like I've always loved it, always was interested in it, but decided to commit myself to more deeply learning. So
Okay, I now you got to a subject that is like a sore point for me because I'm always was fascinated by astrology, but I feel like nothing. I don't know where to start. I don't know. I mean, I know that I'm a Capricorn with, I don't know anymore. And I always get confused because I don't know the meanings. I even got my reading of my card. And yes, it was talking about me and which it made sense. But how can you use that to help improve your life? How can you use all that information to, that's where I get lost.
Yeah. And it's, and I think at first I started because I wanted to be like, I want to know who I am. And then I started to learn more deeply that more or less the universe, the planet, everything's cyclical. So like there are just these time periods when astrology teaches you that there are these key time periods in your life that allow you to kind of push forward and make improvement. So more or less what astrology can do for you is help you understand what energy is coming towards you, what learnings you are going towards or in that particular phase of your life. And then you're able to know. So I always tell my clients that like I can look at their chart, synthesize it, break it down. And then I might say, hey, like the next year is going to be amazing for your career. Like it's so many opportunities. And the client might be like, but I want to chase boys. And I'm like, that's coming for you in the future. And you can do that. It's fine. But you might potentially miss opportunities professionally because you're focused on something else, like focusing on other things. So I think where astrology is very, very useful is if you use it as a tool to kind of guide you as to where can I put my focus, where can I buckle down and get really serious about it. And
that's so important because I found in many times of my life that I was putting the energies in the wrong place and nothing was happening.
Yeah, exactly.
It was like I always say that there are a lot of things that you need to be in the right place at the right time, but you have to have the right energies and things will happen too. And sometimes it's just not the right time for you.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like that's what I try to do with not only my astrology practice, but also with my clients and with the shop in general, with my little magic shop, like really helping people get in alignment with energy that's coming towards them so they can move and flow opposed to like, doing the opposite. Like I have a funny story. Like once I set up, I was like, for 30 days, I'm going to go to all the cool bars in New York City so I can pick up boys. And for the whole 30 days, total bust, nothing, because my chart was like, you need to focus on your career. Yeah. So it was like, it was just a waste of energy. And like, if I were to do that during a time period that was in alignment with, the chasing of boys, then I would have much more luck. So so like I find astrology beautiful and wonderful and I love it, and we're launching a whole new class series on it coming up.
And that's what I love. I mean, I work with Shereen on this class series and I know everything that is coming is amazing, but what I love about this is that many people have this perception that astrology, you have to be a hippie or to be with crystals. You really can be both. I mean, look at this lady. She's a professional, a high level, a master degree, and she loves astrology and uses it to create a better path for her, an easier path.
Yeah. And it's, like former presidents have used astrology. Like it's not, like it's not reserved for just, like the hippies that are like, woo woo. It's reserved for anyone who just wants to take hold of their, of their life and like know that things are happening for them, not just to them, just to happen. And I think that even like, I think of this time period in my life where I was starting to pick up all of these new exciting modalities. So I started studying astrology astrology, working with crystals, doing Reiki, all of this. And this is happening concurrently at the same time as I'm building my professional career. So it's like there's two sides of me happening, you know? And
Yeah.
so as I'm kind of like going through this journey and falling deeper and deeper in love with, you know, being able to help people step into their power, I realized that like that's my calling. And the more I dig into my chart, the more I realize that it aligns with my calling, and also the timing does, which was beautiful. So then, you know, at one point I just got to the point where my passion started to outweigh my professional excitement, and I committed to, you know, well, I did a whole candle ritual, like, universe, what do you want me to do? And the result of the candle ritual was almost unknowing that I was to commit to helping other people go through the same type of journey I did, but make it easier and more fun for them.
But how did you get that answer? Where do you get that answer?
So I did like this whole ritual in true me form. Anyone who knows me would be like, yeah, that's exactly what she did. So I set up an altar, and, you know, I wrote down like what I wanted, and my intention with that candle was to discover what I should be doing professionally. And so I let the candle burn down, and then about like a couple of days later, I woke up, and like it's going to sound so cheesy, but just before this point, I was like, oh my God, I love all this stuff, but it's never going to work. I'm going to be a broke astrologer, and I don't want to be a broke astrologer. And then of course there weren't that many astrologers that look like me. So I was like, oh my gosh, this is out of the question. How could I make money from that? How could I support myself? I want to have, you know, I want to be able to buy nice shoes and stuff, you know.
Of course, shoes are important.
Right. So I'm like, okay, like what, like, I don't understand how I'm supposed to make that work. And so then I wake up, and it's like an aha moment of like, duh, why don't you take your retail experience, this beautiful corporate experience, you've been learning how to sell stuff for the last, you know, 10, 15 years of your life, and combine it with the stuff you like to sell, or you like to talk about, or you like to share. So like the thought was that I was to continue learning and to share, and to turn that into an actual business using my background.
Okay,
And
so okay, so you got me excited there. So what was the first step? What did you do? How did you start? Now you knew your purpose. You knew what you want to do. So now you have to make it a business, and a profitable one. How did you start it? Oh,
so
because whoever sees Shereen's side, I want to say that it is huge. You need to keep looking for things, and I'm still finding hidden gems. And I was like, Shereen, you're hiding this from me.
Yeah. So I actually started off with something really simple, and I always tell it like budding entrepreneurs this, like, don't make it too complicated for yourself. Don't do too many things. Just start with something simple, like one or two products that you can kind of start to learn about how to run a business, who your customer is, that you can learn. And so what I did was I created these 6 kits, and the kits were focused on a different area of life. And so it was basically like almost like the same ritual I put together for myself, for me to discover that this is what I wanted to create in my life. And I made it for other people. So I had a kit that was like connecting with your career. And so it had a bunch of like activities for you to do, a ritual you can do. And we started selling those kits, and those were the only things on the site. It was like, I think it was 6 or 7 products. And that's where we started. And from a budgetary standpoint, I just had to, you know, I mapped out a whole budget for like the upcoming year.
I love that you say that, because a lot of entrepreneurs don't understand. I mean, it's great that you get a self-sufficient company, but you're going to have to invest money to make money. It doesn't exist to start something from zero. And in this world, when you go digital, you need to invest money.
Yeah. And I think that, you know, I feel like I heard that, but I didn't understand what it meant until I started doing it. Right. So like you understand, like, okay, like I'm going to have a computer, you know, to like, but you're thinking, oh, it's online. Like I just get a computer, I'll be fine. But and like more or less, we are in a place where right now it's so much easier to start a business than it was 100 years ago or 50 years ago, because the internet does exist, right? So like it is significantly easier to go into business for yourself. However, that doesn't mean that it's actually easy. So for me, what I did is I was still working a full-time job. So I carved out a line, like a budgetary line, and, you know, like had my paychecks every 2 weeks, all my bills I needed to pay, like money for groceries. And then I put in a little section that says like for your business. And like I had, you know, like whatever it was, like $200 every paycheck that I could spend towards improving my business. And then I had to map things out accordingly. So for instance, like I knew that I wanted to have a branded box, right? And I needed to buy all the items to go into the box. So I had to map that out. And then fortunately I got a tax refund. So I used a big chunk of that money to be able to afford a lot of my startup expenses. So I think it comes down to being really realistic. Like what is the bare minimum that you need to get started business wise? You know, so like you need a website. So how much does that cost? Where do you want to build that? Like how much does it cost to post the URL? Like are you going to take your own pictures? Do you need a camera? Are you selling physical products or is it digital? Like, and then budget it and then map it out in a way that doesn't overwhelm you or terrify you. Because
Go ahead. I just want to say something, and I know you're gonna hate me for this,
yeah.
but how important is that you have to put yourself as a face of the business?
Yeah, Laura always gets on me over this. Yeah. So, I mean, I think that it's definitely important. I think it's great because one thing I will say is that a lot of our sales come from my interactions, right, with other people. So like they get to, you know, like if I host a workshop or a class or, you know, like I'm talking to someone, like pretty much all of my astrology clients, when I first started, like before I even had like a website, when I was learning astrology, actually a girl who I did a reading for free sat me down and was like, Shereen, you're really good at this. I'm going to send you 3 of my friends and you're going to charge them. You pick an amount you should charge them and you do it. And so I realized that through my interactions with other people, that's what gets them really excited about the brand. Like that personalized connection really does help. So when it comes from being the face of the brand, I think that it's really important to find ways to connect with your customers so that they feel like you're a real live person and, you know, they're not just like buying whatever from Amazon, which is like fine. No, I use Amazon a lot, but I don't know if I'd want to like get my crystals from Amazon.
Well, and this is the thing. I mean, you are in a niche that even can be quote unquote obscure.
Yeah.
That a lot of people by ignorance or they are known or being mystic or magic, just they don't know how to get in there. So I think the point of having a person that puts a face and is an educator and gives information, make it a lot more accessible and it connects to people, because many of the people, they're looking for magic. That's what people are looking for. They're looking for people with problems, they want more in life, or they're having a bad time like you started, but they want answers and they want to understand. And it's hard. I mean, even I was having a rough path and I was like, I want to look into crystals, but where do I start?
Yeah, that's true.
It's not that I have all the time in the world. That's a problem. I want things fast that they work.
It's true. I mean, even when I started with this stuff, oh my gosh, I've been to all sorts of weird people's houses. Like this is back when like you learned astrology at someone's house that you never met before, that you probably found on some random website, you know, and like you had to trust that. And like I did a lot of stumbling around, you know, like I read a lot of books, I did a lot of research, tried things that didn't work for me. And like my journey was beautiful and I wouldn't change it for the world because it got me to where I am. But I think it can be easier and more fun.
And that's what you're trying to do.
Yes. And that's my goal. I want to make it like more fun. Like I deeply, deeply believe that people underestimate and undervalue themselves. They don't realize the amount of power and influence they have over how their life turns out. And I think that with, you know, just a couple of tips and tricks, they can start to really connect with that voice within them that will help to remind them that they're powerful and magical and wonderful. And I just want to help people connect with that voice. And I feel like a lot of these tools just kind of help, and they've helped me. So that's what that's what I hope.
So, okay, you started your journey.
Yeah.
There is something that I always say, that entrepreneurs, we love to share our experiences. It's very weird that you find someone that is not willing to talk to you or tell them their experience if you ask.
Yeah.
So the question is, what was your next step? You had your budget, how did you grow from there, from that little thing? How did you get people to know that you were out there?
Yeah, man, that was hard. Like that was probably the hardest, like the hardest part. So it's like you've done all this work, you've invested your money, like you've spent time, and you're like, okay, it's here. I put the website up. And funny story, so I put the website was all ready and done. I put it live, and then I went on vacation, like as my celebratory trip. I was so excited. I went to Greece, and then I realized I forgot to make all the items for sale. It was like such a fail. So I came back from vacation, like, why didn't anyone buy anything? And then I'm like, oh, because I forgot to put things on sale. So anyway, mistakes happen. That was the bigger point of that story. But I think that in order to get people to buy stuff, it was a lot of like, I did like random pop-up shops, or like pop-up events. So I even like did one in Washington Square Park where it was for like witches or something. And it was like, that was a very interesting experience. I told all my friends. So like even my first few orders were definitely from, friends that wanted to support. I did a lot of like free coaching of people, like looking at people's charts for free. And then of course social media. So like we had two really big wins that helped us a lot. So one of them was through social, so being able to like post content that people wanted to learn more about. And then secondary was organic search. So that was huge for us because we started posting, articles about like how to use things and like what to do. And I read this book called They Ask, You Answer. Highly recommend it for any entrepreneurs out there, because it gives you a completely different viewpoint of approaching business, right? Because often you're like, oh, like how do I get people to sell stuff? And like the thought process behind the book is to flip it on its head. Like, how can you help people? What are they asking? Like, what are your customers actually asking you about? Like, how are they connect? Like, what are they like on Instagram? If you post something, is someone saying, like in my instance, like, what do I do with this rose quartz? Then you create content around that. And then that is what really, really helped us start to kind of pick up sales. And then as we started to do that, we just would listen to our customers and be, oh, we want this. So we would say, okay, like maybe we can create something like this. So we launched our monthly subscription box to kind of try to answer that call. So my advice to, any entrepreneurs out there is, think really deeply about who it is you want to connect with, and then think about what are the things that they want from you, and ask them. Do surveys. Like we did a ton of surveys. We always have a survey happening, just asking people like, what do you want to learn about? What are you curious about? What are we missing? What can we share with you? And I think that it does two things. One, it makes the customer feel like you care, because you do care, so like you get to have that connection with them. And then second, it allows you to see like what it is they truly want, what they like, what they don't like, what they need, what they're missing. Like also like where else are they looking for, for things for you. So that helped. And then talking to people, like I used to have especially in the height of COVID, I started doing this weekly meditation circle, and I really got to know a lot of our customers that way, and understood like the struggles they were going through in life and the things that made them happy and excited. And I really think that any business, like your core is always going to come from learning about your customers, and then the sales will come.
Absolutely. And always reinvest in your business.
Yeah. That never stops.
Yeah, that never stops. It's not like you ever can say, I just feel like Yeah, it could have been a one-man show and try to do it all, but how much you can do. And if you can need to grow, and mostly in a company that you are selling goods, you need to reinvest.
Yeah, it's true. You have to reinvest, like you have to invest in yourself. So education wise, like I read so many books, took so many classes, went to so many workshops to learn about all the businessy things I didn't know. You also need to, invest in help. Like, so people, your team, like if you have, like team members that, are truly passionate about your mission and your vision, that they're the ones that'll help to execute it. So investing in your team, and then also investing in the brand itself. So, like taking some risks here and there, like, hiring, like investing in certain platforms or softwares or plugins or whatever it is that you need, like investing in photography, like videography, whatever it is, like you're going to constantly be investing. So for those people out there that, are going in and expecting that they're going to, hit the ground running and like make a bazillion dollars in the first 2 weeks, like I just would say, you might have to manage those expectations. I don't find too many entrepreneurs that have that type of story. Like it's very rare that you hear like the person.
Almost,
yeah, it's like the myth of the overnight success, like.
But also, I mean, if you made a lot of money, it's because you invested a lot of money.
Yeah. And even then it might even be short-lived because of the way you built it. So it's, like I think
it's not sustainable. You need to create a business that you grow it and in a sustainable way.
Yeah.
Because if you can say, let's say that you have a lot of, you need to be learning little by little. Let's say that you have a lot inventory, and then you sell it all, but you don't have the capacity to ship it. You lost customers there already.
Yep, it's true. It's definitely true. So like I think growing more comfortable with the idea that the overnight success is a myth is really important, especially at the beginning of your, like your entrepreneurial journey, because it'll help you with keeping the excitement or, the drive to continue on when times do get tough. And like there's like one example I think of all the time, how like Rihanna, like billionaire Rihanna, she sat on her record album. She didn't get signed for 2 years after she recorded her demo. I was like, it took her 2 years, So like you think of like these people that are, like overnight success. Like, I don't think that there's really such a thing. It takes, a lot of dedication and sacrifice and hard work. And I think above all else, passion. I think that whatever it is you create, like you need to be passionate about the vision. Otherwise, it's going to be really hard to keep up.
Yeah, and just wake up and be happy. That if you wake up and you're happy of doing the job that you're doing, I think you're set for success. Because if you're every morning working in a business that you don't love and you don't feel like you can fulfill your potential there, nothing is going to get done well.
Yeah, it's definitely true. Oh, and another thing, there was this book I read. I think his name is Mark Ronson. It's the book that's like
oh, sorry, can you say that again?
Oh, sorry, it's okay. That's okay. There's also this book by, I think his name is Mark Ronson. And it's the book with the F word. I forgot. I have to like.
The art of not giving a fuck.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. I read that.
Oh my God. So I love that book because it like there's a part where he talks a lot about like how this idea behind people feel like they should just feel impassioned by things. They should always feel like excited about things. And like he's like, that's like a ridiculous thing to think about. Like in order to feel motivated, you have to act to feel motivated or to be inspired. Like you need to pursue inspiration. And I think this is especially true in business because you're going to have some days where you're just like, man, screw this. I can't do this. I'm tired. Nothing's working. I've spent
of course. You have those days that you just want to go to sleep basically and that day to be over. But if you love what you do, and you are like, that's so true. You need to chase
Exactly. So like, and I love what I do, but there are some days I wake up and I'm like, oh my God, how much longer before this is bigger or better, or I make more money and I, whatever. And then I remember that I have to do something to get myself back into that vibration or feeling to be excited again. So like, maybe that means that I need to like look through my email to find something from that a customer wrote me that made me feel excited, or like I need to watch a TED talk, or
Yeah,
like
you need to be reminded sometimes, because there's so many external factors, and we work with so many people on software and frustration. Oh my God, only to the passwords. Sometimes resetting a password is a nightmare, and these double authentications, and you get frustrated with all that. So sometimes you need those reminders of why we do what we do.
Yeah. And I think that that's so important. Even like, get a group of friends that are also entrepreneurs. Like I have a bunch of entrepreneurial friends, and like sometimes like, I need a brainstorm session, like, what do you think of this? And like those things can reinvigorate and inspire you again for your business. And they're completely necessary. And, like if you have a bad day, that's okay. Just schedule something to pick yourself up.
Absolutely. Shereen, before we go, the same question that we ask absolutely everyone. That mistake, besides the one that you told us already, but that really something, it could be that you been screwed over, or that experience that it was very frustrating, that you didn't think that you can bounce back from that, but it made you learn so much that end up teaching you a lot, and you bounce back stronger.
Yeah, I mean, so we went through this like site migration from Squarespace over to Shopify because it was the right thing to do, just because of lots of reasons. Big decision. And I hired this consulting company that was like not cheap and quite this financial stretch for me, but I was, betting big on my business. And we got this guy that, this consultant that was to help. And like, it was like going to war every day working with this guy. Like they like sold us this big game and told us about all the stuff that they could do and guarantee. And then like literally, like, I feel like I had more information than he did just from watching YouTube.
Well, I have yesterday, thank you for sharing that. Actually, I was talking yesterday with someone who told me I hired this PR firm that they were working with huge people. And this is something that they know how to work with. It's easy to work with huge people. It's easy to work with huge budgets. What is not easy is to work with the little people. So if you get success for the little people, to me it's a lot more valuable. So that's something that you need to always look when you hire people or teams, that someone who can find success or work out with someone your size or similar to you.
Yes, it's so true. And like, not only can they and they have success doing it, but also do they want to? Are they excited? Does the brand like make them light up a little bit? Because I find that like this company that I worked with, like, I don't know how excited they were about working with the brand at that size. Like, I remember the main guy and I got into an argument and he was like, you're paying, this is not that much money. And it was a lot of money, right? But he was like,
for you, it was a lot of money.
Yeah, I think for most people starting up, it was like a good, like it was a decent chunk of money over a very short amount of time. And, he was just like, he felt like it wasn't much, but I mean, that goes to what you were saying, like for maybe a humongous brand, that's a very small budget, but like for someone like me or like the average person, just getting into business, it was a huge commitment. Yeah. So like, I feel like at the end of the day, like you have to be really strategic about who you build your brand with, because
it's the same that when you hire people to work with you as an assistant or project manager, or something that I learned along the way is that I need to be working with people that I feel comfortable with. As an entrepreneur, I'm the one who know my business the best, because even the people, even they work closely to me, they see all the things that I see. They didn't have the experience that I've been having in this business. And so I learned, like recently, I had someone who worked for me very little time, and we have very strong logistics. You know that how we work.
Yeah.
And because it works, it's a way of communications. It's a proven system that works.
Yeah.
And she came to me and said, I understand that you guys have a system, but I have mine. And I was like, no, that's not how we work. We all work the same because we're a team. So obviously we are not a good fit.
Yeah. 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 And it happens sometimes, but I mean, like at the end of the day, it's your vision, like you have to stay true to that. Otherwise, as a company, you're not leading your people anywhere. So
yeah, so the thing is that you need to be a leader, but also you need to learn how, as a company owner, you need to put your foot down and say, this is enough. And this is my stop. This is my hard line.
Yep, I agree.
Okay. Shereen, thank you so much for having coffee with me and with having your puppy and share her with us.
Oh, my coffee and my puppy.
Yes.
She's let's
yes.
see. Let's see. Say hi, Otter.
Yeah, this is her podcast debut.
This is our mascot.
Yes, it is. Thank you so much for having coffee with me. And I will see you guys next week in more coffee number 5.